So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. And we think we'll have a few more guests that are members that'll join us, and if so, we'll stop, I guess, and just introduce. But we'll go around the table now because I'm not sure everybody is here. Well, I guess most people here.
Everyone who's here is here.
Has been here before.
Yeah.
Has been here before. So if our new members come, we'll introduce them when they come. So this is the time of the meeting we have for public comment. Do we have anybody that wants to speak to us?
Roll call.
Yeah, go ahead and do roll call, and then let's see who's on
Okay.
line virtual as far as.
Okay. All right. You want to do the roll call for us?
Let's start up here. Tyrone, you want to start? We'll go right to left. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Tyrone Levitt. Check. All right. Corey Denninger, BPAC.
Yeah, Randy Stovall, BPAC.
Joel Jackson, BPAC.
Gunter Flag, BPAC, citizen at large.
Anthony Chichili.
Tina Russo, MPO.
All right.
You want to go ahead and introduce yourself as a possible member?
Please do.
Please do.
Please.
Is this on?
It's on.
Yeah.
My name is Jim Pavick. I live over in East Pasco, Northeast Pasco. And the reason I'm here is I'm very concerned about what I see going on over there. I've been there for 50 years. I've been riding my bike there. I've been in bicycle retail, racing, coaching, race promoting. And we got some very nice roads over there, mainly Jessamine Road, Sharber Road, Lake Iola Road, Blanton Road, Trilby Road. And if some plans aren't made for the future, it's over. I also think, and I'm trying to convince people, including my district county commissioner, that attracting cyclists and health-orientated people to our area will behoove us. And believe it or not, bicycles can slow the traffic down a bit, and that's what we need. So if we have the right roads over there, and we have cooperation between the authorities and the lawmakers and the cyclists, we can create a very successful and vibrant community. Now, I would like to be involved as a liaison between like you guys and the cyclists, because there's a lot of animosity, misunderstanding, because it's like a volatile situation now. There's a whole lot of cyclists there, and there's a lot of cars, and there's a lot more coming. And the cyclists think they have a right, and they do have a right. But if you're dead right, it doesn't matter. So that's all I have to say. Now, I don't think that I'm going to be involved with the board as a position, but I do have a friend. His name is Derek, and he just moved back from Seattle. He used to race as a pro. I used to coach him when he was a kid. He was, very, very experienced, and he has expressed an interest in being a member so that he can add to the community and the sport that he's from. And I'm going to put him in contact with Miss Brusso, and that's all I got to say.
Good.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question? What part of Pasco?
I live on Lake Iola,
Okay.
You're good.
right off Lake Iola Road, so all the cyclists, and I'm one of them.
They all are cyclists
Yeah.
out there.
Check.
So if you, I don't know how you get to our archives, but about 4 or 5 years ago, we did a study of bicyclists there, and our consultants and some of our staff actually were at the park there in St. Anne where everybody parks, and some of our volunteers were downtown in St. Anne, and they interviewed cyclists.
Right, I remember when that happened.
Okay.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, a lot of progress has been made. I don't know who is responsible. I went and talked to Ronnie Oakley about it, and you guys, somebody has put all kinds of signs up on, especially on Trilby Road, Blanton Road, so.
Oh, yeah, that was done for a good reason.
Okay. Well, we're doing all we can.
Right.
But the thing is, when we improve the roads or resurface them, if we take into consideration the cyclists, And actually, then the positive influence that they can have on our part of the county, I think will be a good thing for everybody.
A lot of that's in the plan. I think that's what Randy was referring to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
And right now I'm concerned with Sharber Road.
Yeah.
Because the deal is that Curley Street is getting so busy that the cyclists usually take Sharber Road out of town. And what's going on with Sharber Road now is the base is collapsing. So, so you got the cyclists there, you got the motorists, and it's a very uneven, unsafe road for all concerned. So I'm hoping that that gets resurfaced and fixed in the near future so we can, and the cyclists I've talked to have agreed, they will use Sharber Road as a designated route to leave town, which will help a lot. So, you know, I'm here kind of for selfish reasons.
That's good.
I'm sorry.
We all are.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome.
So a couple of things at our next meeting in April, we'll give you a project update, what we're doing with Northeast Hill Study that was referenced.
Right.
Sharber Road is set for resurfacing March, April from Darby to St. Joe.
Oh, okay.
We're also trying to look at a couple of different other improvements, anything that we can do during that resurfacing, if possible, that were mentioned in a study.
Right.
So we'll come back. We're working on some different things using that study.
Good.
Some great show the road signs. Went out there yesterday. Casey and I looked at where those signs are at. Really good placement for them as well. So next meeting, I'll table that as one of the discussions is how that we're working with that plan right now and how
That's
we're
good.
proceeding to make some things happen. Okay?
That's very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
But we can send him the AECOM.
ACOM, yeah.
It's on our webpage too. So.
Okay.
Intuitive.
Right. All right. That leads us to minutes from December 8th. Yes.
We have a couple people that came on virtually that I'd like to make sure everybody knows on. And then
Okay.
Debbie, do you want to have a seat or do you want to stay? There's safe.
Oh, Debbie.
So Debbie's one of our brand new members
Very good.
out of Commissioner Fitzpatrick's
Yeah, there's a place. Easy.
district.
Wow.
Lives down the street from me.
Uh-oh.
Did we do a background check yet?
So when you get seated there, Debbie, introduce yourself.
I'm Debbie Voiles. I'm a Tampa native, lived in Tampa all my life until recently moved to Pasco.
Good for you.
And been a runner for 43 years, started the biggest running club in the Bay Area with 500 members. And I used to be a mountain biker and now I'm a runner and I'm all about building trails and connections and also usually using social media to get the word out. My Facebook group has 6,000 people. So if we need a message to get to them, I can get it out to them within minutes. And also whatever, if you all need input from them, they're usually very cooperative and will respond to surveys and things like that. So thrilled to be here. I'm on the Greenways Committee in Hillsborough since my business is there. So I hope the knowledge between the two is going to be enlightening.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
That'll be helpful. And who else do we have?
So Morgan's on. Morgan, introduce yourself. And we have our other new member, Brian Michaels, I see is online as well. At least I thought I did.
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone.
I've got it on my phone.
This is Morgan.
Morgan, are you there?
He's muted. That is the 2020 saying. You're
Unmute.
I should be unmuted. Can you all hear me?
All right. There he is.
Try again, Morgan. Try again.
Yeah,
We
it
can see
says
you.
I am unmuted, so I hope that that's the case. Can you hear me?
We can hear you on the Zoom call or on the call, Morgan. I don't know if they can hear you in the chambers.
Okay. Sorry about that. I did hit the button to unmute, so that's the most I can do from here.
That kind of starvages, but I'm not voting.
Well, we can see you, but we can't hear you, Morgan.
Do you know sign language, Morgan?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the seeing part. Maybe I'll cut the,
Hey, there you go. There you go. Hear you now.
What happened?
We had him.
Go ahead, Morgan. We can hear you now, Morgan.
okay, Tina, do you want me to just announce myself?
Yeah.
Yes,
This is
please.
Morgan Gaynor, BPAC at large.
Thank you. Brian Michaels, who's an attendee, can you please? Thank you, sir. Brian, can you introduce yourself, please, since we finally unmuted you?
He's not unmuted and I can't see him.
He's under an attendee list. Oh.
However, he's logged in, he's not connecting now.
Okay. We'll go ahead and have Channing and Casey and Christina, please introduce yourself as well, and Sam.
Christina Cordone, I'm the superintendent for passive parks. And I oversee all the wilderness parks, beach parks, and the multi-use trails that the Parks Department manages.
That's great.
Hi, I'm Casey Kersey with AECOM, one of the GPCs that supports the MPO.
Great.
And I'm
Hi, I'm Sam Bennick. I'm with Pasco County Project Management.
Hey,
And
Sam.
Channing Pickford with AECOM as well.
Good. Welcome
Tania?
all right. Is that everybody?
I saw Alex.
You need him to.
Yeah.
Alex Henry, FDT District 7 Bike Ped Coordinator.
Hey, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. Well, we have a good group between what we have here and what we have online, so that's a good thing. So that means we finished the introductions, the roll call, the public comment, and we have minutes. Minutes were emailed out to everybody. So and we actually have a quorum, so we can do business. So if you have corrections, you need to get those to Tina, and if not, we need a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve all outstanding minutes. Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion at all? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Thank you very much. And then we have a bunch of really nice reports here coming up, and I want to say thank you, Tina, for getting these things on the agenda. Sometimes MPO does a lot of things that relate to trails and walking and bicycle or and sidewalks, et cetera, that we don't always hear about. And so Tina's been nice enough to give us a list of some of the ones they've been working on. So take it away.
Well, and Patty's here. She helps us with the agenda now that since we go to a new system. But a lot of these are pertinent to you folks as well. So instead of me just doing the same thing twice on an agenda, we'll just kind of go over these as a part of our discussion too, because they really all do pertain to this group as well. That first one is there's 2 culverts going in on the 52 project, just west of Aaron Cutoff, basically. 52 is going to have a multi-use path and a sidewalk as they continue it all the way up towards Bellamy Brothers. The conversation has already come up in the future, and Alex knows this, that anytime we have these wildlife undercrossings, that we're going to look at bike ped crossings as well with them, okay?
Cool.
So I think this came in a little bit later, but the reason I wanted to show this is that discussion has come up with our MPO meeting, and it came up in our technical group meeting as well. So those things will be considered in the future, and we will look at taking advantage of those situations for bike ped facilities as well. Because again, crossing the road becomes fun for us. So we're going to look at every opportunity to do that with other projects.
So Tina, in that case, 52 runs east-west. The Animal Crossing would go north-south. Which way would this bike ped go?
So there's going to be a sidewalk and multi-path on this 52. So if people want to cross the road to the other side for whatever reason, they're going to have to cross 52. So again, we want to take advantage of any opportunity, especially with that road, that they can cross the road. Why not make it a bike ped crossing as well? Two-legged animals and four-legged animals, okay? That's when the conversation came up. So that's why I wanted to let you know that, we want to take advantage of all those projects for us as well.
So I just stopped on that was coming in at the MPO meeting, but they said the culvert was just a little culvert. So I wanted it to be
Big, yeah.
let's go deeper, let's get bike ped under the road, goes too late. So on the future, we're gonna look at that.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
So the rest of them are on there, but the one that's really pertinent to the bike ped group here is number 7, is we gave a system performance report for our safety targets. I'm gonna let Channing kind of go over that PowerPoint, and we'll kind of have a little bit of discussion who, what, when, where, when it comes to these safety targets as well. But I'll let Channing, and this is that PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks, Tina. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So these are the highway safety performance measures, also affectionately known as PM1. And this is something that's required by the federal government for all of the MPOs to do just in order to keep federal funding. This is kind of a different animal from what the MPO does to track safety. This is more just sort of fulfilling this requirement from the feds. And we're going to kind of use it, as you'll see, to kind of build. We're planning on building off of it to do a little bit more specialized in-depth look at the safety. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So just some basic background about what the federal reporting requirements are. Since 2017, the MPOs are required to do a number of these different performance measures, PM1 being the safety performance measures. And they need to be reported by February 27th to meet some of these requirements. These measures apply to all public roads. And these measures, there are kind of 5 safety performance measures that are looked at, that are examined each year. Number 1 is the number of fatalities, and then the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, the number of serious injuries, and then the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and then the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. Next slide. So how does the MPO go about developing these targets and measuring these rates and these numbers over time? The data itself is provided by FDOT to all of the MPOs in Florida to create the targets. And kind of as I mentioned earlier, these safety targets are really not the same thing as the LRTP safety performance measures. These are different, and they have a different reason for being, basically. So again, specific requirement for federal tracking. And the guidance really suggests that the states and the MPOs should make sure that their annual targets are really data-driven, they're realistic, and they're achievable. There's a discouragement from using really aspirational targets. You kind of want to make sure that they are based in reality. For 2021, for this year, the data that we're working with is 2015 to 2019, 5-year rolling average. So this means 2 things. The first thing is 2020 is not included in this data set. So whatever we've seen over the past year on our roads, whether there has been an increase or a decrease in number of vehicles on the roads, number of incidents. That's not reflected in this data. The other thing is this is not reflecting one single year. It's looking at all these 5 years between 2015 and 2019 and then averaging it out. So there'll still be a change, but it's kind of an average change. So it's a little bit different. We can kind of get into this. Next slide, please. So this slide is looking at the number on the left and the rate on the right of fatalities for this 5-year period. You can see along the bottom, you have these 5-year rolling average periods. The last one, 2015 to 2019. And you can see there's been an increase, been a steady increase basically since the 2011-2015 period, so 2015. Now, if you look at the chart on the right, the average annual fatality rate, which looks at the number of fatalities and then averages it out based on how much people are driving. There has been not a decrease, but the rate of increase has slowed. And so that's something that we're looking at to try to continue that slowing of that rate and kind of make sure that we're able to stop that and have a decrease in future years. We really want to hold that steady. And some of the efforts that the MPO is doing, like Vision Zero, is going to really help those numbers out. Next slide. For this slide, we have the number and the rate of serious injuries for the 5-year periods. So you look along the first on the left, we can see that number is kind of declining very slightly for the number of injuries. And then if we look at that number based on the number of miles traveled, it's decreasing. And that's a really good thing. Really happy about that portion of it. And so that's kind of a trend that we're looking to continue. Next slide, please. This is one thing that we put in. This is not one of the 5 measures that we're looking at. This is just kind of showing you how the number of vehicle miles traveled has changed over time in Pasco County. This is not 5-year rolling averages. This is actually year by year. So we have 2017, 18, 19. You can really see that since the end of the financial crisis, the number of vehicles miles traveled have really kind of gone up a lot. And that's responsible for some of the fatalities and some of the injuries that we saw on the previous slide. So it's important to remember that there's a whole lot more driving going on in the county than there was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Next slide. This is another very important figure. This is one of the 5, the last of the 5. This is the number of bicycle and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries. This is, again, the 5-year rolling average. And if you look, there was a steady increase between 2015 and 2017. And then starting in 2017, we've kind of started to level out a little bit. A slight increase from last year to this year, but more of an encouraging trend than we were seeing 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So this is another trend that we're really hoping to hold that number steady and decrease that number. Next slide, please. So part of the PM1 reporting is we have to adopt a standard that we want to adhere to not exceed. And we've decided to adopt basically the current number as the standard. We do not want to exceed the current numbers of the last 5-year rolling average period. So if you look on the right, on the Pasco MPO 5-year average portion, that current kind of section, 2015, 2019, that's really what we're trying to hold. And it's kind of showing the difference between the previous periods. So, excuse me, 6.2% increase number of fatalities. When you look at that in the range of the number of vehicle miles traveled, it's a 1.5% increase. So if you're looking at the number of vehicle miles traveled, it's not as high of a jump as it looks in that first row. But if you look at number of serious injuries and the rate of serious injuries, it's a decrease, 1.2% in the number and 5.5% decrease in the rate. And then as I mentioned on the previous slide, for the pedestrian and bicycle fatalities and serious injuries, a slight increase over the last period. Next slide. And here's where we adopt the 2021 recommended targets. I kind of mentioned that a little bit on the last slide. Again, we don't want to exceed the numbers that we had for this previous period. We want to hold everything steady or have everything decline. And so these, based on that reporting on this data, these are the targets that we have, that the board adopted at the last meeting. Next slide, please. So this slide just shows us a little bit about how the MPO is addressing some of these numbers and trying to reduce the number of fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. So we continue to monitor and implement some safety projects and apply for additional funding. So 2019-2020, Pasco received over $2 million, and we've been working with the MPO, Casey and I, on the phase 1 of Vision Zero, and now starting phase 2, which is kicking off this year, focusing a lot more on community engagement. Phase 1 was looking at Pasco's active transportation network, creating a working library of Vision Zero observations, video footage, and then safety promotional materials. And then finally, we're working on creating an active transportation plan to really develop a network for pedestrian, cyclists, and all other active users that are using this great transportation network. These are some of the things that we're doing to try to reduce these numbers that we saw in the previous few slides. Next. And that's it. So if we have any questions, and Tina, I know that you did a fantastic job presenting some of this material to the board too. So if anybody wants to jump in, questions or comments, this would be a great time. I'm sorry, I don't know if anybody else is unable to hear at this time. I'm not getting anything through.
Check. Can you hear me now? Okay.
We
so
can.
I was saying, Channing, good job, first of all. Thank you. And secondly, I have a comment and then a question. So eliminating fatalities is impossible. We're humans, we know that. So you guys are working on a great problem here. But one thing I've talked about since I've been on this committee for the last 3 years, and I realize funding and money is always going to be an issue, but that sidewalks should not be the standard. I'm just kind of getting this out there, just putting this out there, and then I'll have my question. That asphalt trails should really be the standard when we improve or build new roads. So whether it's 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, asphalt trails should really be the standard. Obviously funding is an issue, easements right away is an issue, but that should be the default. And then we should determine why we can't do that. And when I go down, say, State Road 52, and there's a sidewalk, and it's a 4 foot sidewalk, and then I see a bike lane, and people are in the bike lane. As an avid cyclist, I think to myself, why are they in the bike lane when there's people going 65 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone, 3 lanes or 6 lanes, if you will, of traffic, when they could just be on the sidewalk? Maybe it's not legal, but it's sure safer. So if we put an asphalt trail there, it becomes legal, it becomes safer, and I think that would help significantly reduce fatalities. But again, we're always going to have those issues. It was interesting, you said the number of, trying to hold steady with the numbers that you've seen more recently, and that's the goal, and try to keep that or underneath, of course. But the number of fatalities has gone up, but the rate has gone down. How is the number of miles traveled actually factored?
So for fatalities, the number's gone up. I believe it was around 6%. For the rate for fatalities, it's gone up, but it's gone up a lot more slowly, 1.5%. And just to get to your question, that's the impact right there of those miles traveled. Basically, because we're driving a lot more, when you look at that number, it becomes smaller when you look at it per million miles traveled.
How do we know? How do we measure though that people are driving more? I mean, we can assume that, but how do we know?
One of the ways that we know is from traffic counts. And I know that the MPO is looking into kind of continuing our traffic count program right now. But FDOT has a program to count traffic on different roads. I don't know exactly how this number is derived, but I can try to look for that and get back to you. Again, that's part of the information that came from FDOT was not only the number of fatalities, but also the rate, and then also the number of vehicle miles traveled. So it's all information coming from the state. But I'll look into that method of how they're determining that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I must have wrote my notes wrong. I thought the number of fatalities went up, but the rate went down. Maybe I was wrong on that.
So injuries have gone down on that 5-year. And we'll get into this at our local level a lot more with our active transportation plan and our Vision Zero. This is requirement based on federal guidelines. So we wanted you to see this for that reason. So as we move forward with what we're trying to do at a detailed level, you have a little bit better understanding. We're getting into traffic counts. We're starting non-motorized counts. We're looking at all those different variables that play into that. Just realize that, and there was a good question at the MPO board meeting, these are all based on crash reports. There's a lot of crash reports not reported on this too. So that's the data we use to show these, but there's a lot more data out there that we're trying to figure out how to get that information, and that's where we're going from that. But again, any one death is too many, and our pedestrians are a lot more than our bicyclists. And again, we're going to deal into that. We're going to drill down into those with our active transportation plan and our Vision Zero for that reason.
Right. Very good. And you had anything else to do with the MPO reports, or you want to go to the?
So the last two on there are basically, we included in your packet, as long as it is, you guys, is a detailed scope of what's going to happen with our active transportation plan and our Vision Zero plan. So I expect you guys to really look at that, to really know when we start having our meetings with the public and with you guys, and come April, we're going to start delving into it. So look at that scope. This is the first active transportation plan Pasco's ever had. All right. We're going to get a lot of data. A lot of it has to get the information first before we can do anything, which is what you guys were just talking about. We have to update our map even better. We got to get some traffic counts. There's a lot of information that we have to get first before we can start figuring out what to do with it. But both of those scopes are in there, like 2 or 3 pages long, so easy reading one night. But get in there and look at the scope for active transportation plan, because again, our next April meeting, we're going to start getting into details with Vision Zero, and you guys are going to play a part in all of this.
Very good. It seems like some of these things are things that we've wanted to work on, so it's so good that you are now digging into that. So it's excellent. All right, so then that would lead us to item 4A, system performance report and safety targets.
So that's what we just did.
Okay.
So the next item, which is A, is by request from you guys.
Okay.
From Christina about the grant from the state for the restroom. And I'll let Christina kind of take over from now. Christina, you're on.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tina. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I have a very brief PowerPoint presentation. That way it's a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm talking about. It would help if I had it opened already, but I accidentally closed it. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So real briefly, as you guys all know, the Suncoast Trail, it's approximately 42 miles. The majority of it is in Pasco County. About 21.6 miles of it is in Pasco County. and the multi-use paved trail inside JB Starkey Wilderness Park is approximately almost 7 miles long. So we had submitted a grant for basically that intersection, that connection where both of those trails meet. And so the idea was to create a rest area right at that juncture. I'm sure as you are aware, it's about 4 miles south to the Suncoast Trail for restrooms. And there's also about 7 miles, down the Starkey paved trail for restroom, water, fountain type of fixture. So we thought it would be a great idea to create a rest area right at that intersection. It would be a nice halfway point in any direction that you are going. So we submitted for a RTP grant, which is a Recreation Trails Program grant. And these are the items that we submitted the grant for. A restroom, providing drinking water, wayfinding signs, a kiosk, message board, which would have not only some environmental education, but bike safety information and just any important information that we would like to put on there. A bike repair station. We rescue a lot of bikers kind of halfway between. So that way there's a possibility for them to kind of do some maintenance on their bike if they have any issues. And for safety purposes, a solar kind of phone charging station. That way, if anything happened and someone's cell phone or device was low on battery, they could go ahead, stop, take a break, and charge it. That way they can continue on their way. So those are pretty much the main amenities that we had submitted for our RTP grant. This is a very rough sketch of kind of the general location where these amenities are going to be located. They're primarily on that northern end of the connector. And then the wayfinding signs will go right at the corner. That way, it'll have information, this much distance to State Road 52, this much distance to the Suncoast, this much distance to the entrance to Starkey, things like that. So that way the general populace who's utilizing the trail will know. A kiosk, like I said, for information. We also needed to incorporate a bike rack. So that way, if anyone needs to use the facilities or refill water, they have a safe place to put their bike. And because we need a water source and a restroom there, we will need to put in a well. So that way we can pump water to be able to use for drinking purposes. So that's kind of the general location of where everything is planned to go. So we were basically awarded by the state $160,000 for this rest area. Pasco County is going to be providing a $40,000 match. Something that may be hard to fathom is we actually got this grant awarded to us in FY year 2019-2020. So a year ago, basically, or last fiscal year, we got this grant awarded to us. But they decided to this year was the year that they were going to do a new process for processing this grant. So that's why you just recently saw it. It took us about a year to be able to get an agreement executed for the grant that we were awarded. Because even though it's a state grant that we got, there's a federal process that they're using to implement this grant. And so there's a NEPA Act process and a SWEPT process, which stands for Statewide Environmental Protection Tracker. So it's an online federal government process that needs to be, that is being utilized to kind of execute all this. So the way the order goes, we got our county and DEP executed the agreement in January. We basically are now starting the commencement paperwork. We have to do the federal commencement paperwork first, and they are due this summer, July 2021. Once those are submitted and approved, then the state will go ahead and review the commencement paperwork, and those are due to the state February, late January, beginning of February of 2022. And so the premise is the anticipated notice to proceed for this project. We are anticipating it to start of summer of 2022. So it is kind of a far away, but it's primarily just because there is a federal process that now it's being incorporated as part of this grant. And so that's kind of delaying as the project moves. So that's basically the RTP grant project update. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to try and answer them.
This is Randy.
It's taken to get, actually it's going to be 10 years to get this $200 toilet.
Yeah, a comment beyond that and a question. When we do start construction, how long do you anticipate the process taking before it's actually ready?
So I believe we are anticipating, I want to say probably, so our agreement basically expires within 2 years. So January of 2023 is basically when we have to get this completed by. So once we get the commencement paperwork going, that includes our timeline. So once that paperwork is gone through the process, then we really have to move super quick because our timer starts from the day the agreement was actually executed, not from when the time the commencement paperwork got approved.
Okay, understood. Thank you. The comment part is that the rest facility, restroom, and amenities you described are very similar to what we hope to get at the Hardy Trail bike hub being built in Dade City by the city. And I just think it'd be nice if we could share your proposal with Melanie Romanelli at the City of Dade City. I don't know how much detail they have in that part of their plan, but they're probably going to be constructing somewhere, I hope a little earlier than you, but perhaps not. I know we're hoping to get that thing built pretty quick, but I really like all the things you had discussed as part of this plan, and I think it'll be helpful to a lot of riders. So wonderful, thank you.
Absolutely. I emailed Tina the presentation, so she has it, so she can share it with whoever she needs to.
Okay, great, thank you.
Christina?
Yes.
So where this is being proposed is kind of a few different entities involved. There's DOT, which is right there, and there's Tampa Bay Water, and then there's SwiftMud, the Water Management District. Have you guys reached out to the appropriate entities to get access agreements?
So in order for us to, so we actually applied for this grant in 2018, but we were not awarded because per our existing SwiftMud agreement, we did not have an agreement long enough to be able to use this. So we kind of had to go back, reconvene. We took our management agreement for Starkey Wilderness Park to SwiftMud. We made a revision. It got approved by SwiftMud and us. So the actual rest area is located on SwiftMud property, on a SwiftMud parcel, and we do have an updated agreement and approval from SwiftMud for that specific area. So we kind of have an addendum to an agreement just for that spot.
Good, thank you.
We tried to get them to build it, but they wouldn't. And then it really was SwiftMud who pulled it up.
Did you drill the well?
Yeah, no, well, we got it all with this. We had to map out some land and kind of put a special agreement on a little piece of land.
Correct.
And then we missed an RTP deadline and
That's a lot of work.
It was like one thing after another.
We've been working on it for a little bit.
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. I want to thank Christina. She really helped me get the non-motorized memorandum and an agreement with DOT that we just finished up and we're going to have a presentation on. But Christina is the one that really helped me get that agreement done in time that we could do something as well. So, but
good job,
thank
Christina.
You.
No problem.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
That's great, yeah. What's really amazing is you had persistence,
Yes.
you know, and obviously that's an important characteristic. You want to get anything done, so,
Yeah, we didn't say no, we found a way.
yeah, that's wonderful. All right.
Should we add some sort of security, like not everybody carries cell phones? I mean, God forbid somebody is at that restroom area to have a little bit of an issue. You can at least hit a button or something for the, not allowed to do that.
So, and I have some past experience with 911 and that situation because we developed a program in Hillsborough that's actually used in Pasco as well. Believe it or not, those call boxes, they're called, only go to one number. And most of the time it's FHP. That doesn't do us any good. Hopefully you have a cell phone with you while you're out there. There is addresses, actually almost every 250 feet on the Suncoast and Starkey Wilderness Trail that are actually an address in the system. So great idea to have a charger out there so your phone does work as well.
Absolutely.
It's going to be popular.
Why would you need a solar charger if you have power to the pump?
We thought about solar just in case it stops working or there's power failure or anything like that. We can have both options. We just wanted to have a backup plan just in case. And with solar, you can put it pretty much anywhere. So it was just more feasibility and just giving us more options.
Will the restroom building be a composting toilet?
So the idea or the intent, yes, it's to be some sort of Clivus Multrum restroom. The biggest issue we would have up there is there's no sewer lines up the trail to be able to connect to if we did not do it that way.
Do we have to utilize cistern tank systems? Meaning the rainwater off the roof that collects and then you can utilize the water for emergency also? And then pump it with the solar up when there's an issue?
The rain barrel.
I mean, you can put any size tank you want and collects the rainwater. We get tons of rain in Florida. No places utilize them. I don't understand.
Well, and again, they'll research the best facility long-term and cost-wise as well for that area. So that's what they do, and they'll figure out the best for that location as well.
Drinking water needs to be certified as a public water supply, and that requires a lot of conditions, including chlorination. So I don't know that it's.
I meant for the toilets.
Okay.
All right. All right. Please.
I sit on T-BARTA, which is the transit authority, and we had a report from our federal lobbyists that they believe that earmarks are going to be returning up in Washington. They've been gone for a while. And we used to have a federal lobbyist, Harry, who worked for Congressman Young and Canals, and we have quickly rushed out to put our RFP back out on the street to get our federal lobbyists back on track because we had told the staff that we wanted to do that and we never got the federal one on. But I also understand they're working on a very big infrastructure bill, Tina. And those of us who've been here too long remember that when I think it was Obama did an infrastructure bill, Pasco County was able to get some money for some trails. And that's actually how the trail down Massachusetts was built. And with leftover money, I got Gallagher to build the trail from Massachusetts to the entrance of Starkey, actually down the northern part of Starkey Boulevard, because the trail only before went down the southern part. So I feel that if we have some shovel-ready projects that we need to be ready, Tina, with possibly a shovel-ready project that we can apply for if the opportunity comes out and Orange Belt comes to mind. And I don't know what the rules are, how far along something has to be, but I want to bring that to your attention.
We are working on that because we know that's a possibility coming down the line.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
And I don't
That's
know,
good.
maybe the overpasses, you know, even if we have money that we can throw in there, I would throw everything we could at that opportunity. I remember in that same time, Hernando County got the money, and what they did was they resurfaced the Suncoast. Yeah. Then second, I had a question for Sam. I drove the new part of the Ridge Road extension, and I didn't see the trail on there, but both sides are done. So did I miss it, or did you build it in that part that goes from Mill Lake to the river?
Sam was actually up next.
Good timing.
It's there.
Well, how wide is it?
12 feet, ma'am. It's concrete. In the urban section, it's a concrete.
And just to answer Corey's question, why did we do concrete and not asphalt?
Concrete will survive tree roots much better than asphalt. So it's usually used anytime where you have a lot of concern about conflicts with those existing roots. It's also just a lot easier to put in more constrained areas. It's a constructability issue, and some of the sidewalk projects where concrete is more expensive as a material, but asphalt is maybe harder to work with on a smaller scale. We've actually given contractors the option, whichever they can install cheaper.
Okay, so it is there, it's on the north side of that road? Or the trail's gonna be on which side of the road is the trail on?
It's along the neighborhood there, ma'am.
So it's along the south side? Of
South side, the south side.
Okay, I'll look better.
Does it continue to the Suncoast Parkway Trail?
It is under construction from Town Center to Suncoast Parkway. It will connect to Suncoast Parkway later this year.
And is there a way to interconnect it with the power line gravel trail?
We're working on that.
There's a trailhead at the power lines. I showed that to you. Right, Sam?
On the north, on 50?
There's a trailhead at the power lines on the Ridge Road Trail.
But that is an item. So the power line trail is private property. It's Duke Energy property, and there's no public access to that gravel trail. We've certainly been coordinating with Duke regarding a trailhead parking area there. And we've kind of expanded the conversation to see if they would allow for public access of that trail. We've been involved water management staff. I can't really give you a clear path forward there. But it is, the trailhead specifically, that was something that Duke has given us approval to move forward with. But I think they want to have a bigger conversation about public access to the rest of the trail. And we're trying to avoid getting anybody too riled up.
Okay, Sam.
And I want to remind you that we have a handshake agreement with SwiftMud with that property that DOT used for builder pits for Ridge and Suncoast, that we could have trailhead there as well. That is not land that has restrictions that are the same as Stark Wilderness Park, because that was not part of the park when it went into contract. That was land that DOT kept out to get dirt to build the overpass at Ridge Road. So that is, and they deeded it back to SwiftMud, but it doesn't have the same restrictions, so do something.
Just as another heads up, Sam, the crafty mountain bikers and gravel cyclists have discovered that east of the power line, between the Suncoast and the power line, there apparently is a bridge under construction, a wetland crossing, or maybe a wildlife crossing, I'm not sure. But they have been, I say they carefully, they have been using that as a way to get from the north side to the south side or vice versa. And I'm not sure whether that is an opportunity, an official opportunity or potential opportunity to exploit that bridge with a trail to go underneath this.
There's a number of, I assume you're following the existing trails that are out there. And where we could, we included bridging over those trails. And there's actually a wildlife crossing that, you know, as was mentioned earlier in this meeting, would allow for the existing trail users to continue to cross under Ridge Road after the construction of that roadway.
That's excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Just please don't tell me you're driving right over my freshly poured bridge decks, because that is a different thing.
If he was, it would be with very small tires.
Some initials in it.
And there's a beautiful overlook that's going to be part of that trail system too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I'm gonna call him and listen.
All right, Sam, you want to start with the typo I had with Suncoast overpass at 54?
Pardon?
So the first item was Suncoast overpass actually at 54. Just an update.
Understood. We are underway with the feasibility and bridge type study. That actually I got a draft report back. It's under county review right now, but we expect that we'll finish up that portion of the project, go into final construction design later this year, and then we'll go into construction sometime in 2022. And that project includes the grade separation of the existing Suncoast Trail over State Road 54, as well as looking into connections under the Suncoast Parkway to run east and west and establish connectivity to the communities on the east side and west side of Suncoast Parkway, as well as trailhead upgrades to that existing trailhead facility on the northwest corner.
Hallelujah.
We got another
Yeah.
restroom at that parking lot at Suncoast 54. Who's managing that? That Parks Department?
Was the question who is managing the project once it's complete, or who's managing the project while it's underway?
I was asking about the future possibility of a restroom at the 54 trailhead.
We're including that in our conceptual plans so that I understand that the Parks Department has some funding coming down in the next few years. And if all that comes together, it would ideally be part of the same project with split funding between the, I believe it's penny for Pasco funding for the overpass, and then the restroom would be taken over by the Parks funding source.
Thank you.
Hardy Trail extension.
Before we move off that bathroom would be hooked up to a sewer line. The Hardy Trail extension there, the north side up to the Withlacoochee State Trail, we are negotiating a scope and fee for design. We do know that there's some limited right-of-way acquisition required on that project, but nonetheless, we are marching forward, targeting a construction in the original funding year, which is fiscal year 22-23.
And then Orange Belt, I called it segment 1 and the route study. Any updates on that?
Yes, ma'am. The Orange Belt, phase 1, what we're calling phase 1, running from Trinity Boulevard along Cool Springs Parkway, crossing State Road 54, and then connecting to the Suncoast Parkway. We're negotiating scope and fee for that for design in this year. We know that there's some right-of-way required there, but similar to Withlacoochee, we believe that we can knock that out and start utilizing our construction funding in fiscal year 22-23. Figure if I break all these projects up into small enough pieces, everybody will go along with me that they're all easy and we can just do them all at once.
I like it.
That's great. Yeah.
The other part of this is that we have moved construction of the segment that's along Trinity Boulevard. That had been a higher priority, or at least had been timed to be constructed earlier. But we have design of the Trinity Boulevard widening coming up in fiscal year 23-24 and construction of that in 25-26. So rather than build a trail 1 year ahead of a roadway project, we've kind of shuffled our priorities there. And we're now anticipating that the trail project would be designed and built at the same time as that roadway widening and be a benefit to both projects.
It's great planning.
So what we're trying to do is, and we met with DOT, Sam and Alex Henry, who's on the line, is we met with him to kind of get a feel for moving the money that we had for Orange Belt on the Trinity segment to do that next piece to get it to Suncoast, okay? So multi-use path with the Trinity roadway widening instead of tearing something up later. We'll also look at maybe a different crossing of Trinity since it's going to be a 4-lane road instead of a 2-lane road for the Starkey Gap as well. Something different than just the RFB, maybe a Hawk system, very similar. But we're going to look at that as part of that project. Bring it up to Cool Springs, stay away from Trinity intersection, use some DOT right away there at Community, kind of behind the ponds, and then have a mid-block crossing a little bit past all that craziness. And then again, we have the right-of-way at Starkey Ranch already on that north side, all the way into Cattle Gap, all the way to Suncoast, basically. So that's what we're looking at, moving some federal money, SunTrail money from Trinity to that so we can get it to Suncoast and then take advantage of what we're going to do at Trinity Roadway. So those are just prelims that we've been discussing to go forward, and hopefully the timing's right, gives us a little bit safer. It also provides a little bit more connectivity to all those houses on the south side of 54, but then you have a way to connect to the north side of 54 as well without a $12 million overpass. So we're looking at all those and trying to get it to and from somewhere without having it stop, which we had that discussion at the last meeting. So those are some just thoughts. Again, Alex and Sam, we've been looking at all those things just to take advantage of everything that we can, opportunity-wise, to get the most out of the funds that we have. So those are just some things that we've been kicking around. And then with other future funding, maybe some other opportunities that we can take advantage of too.
But
Sam, you want to add anything else to that too? The engineer.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
But in that whole thing, which sounded great, Tina, is still pursuing the overpass at Starkey and 54.
We do have a SunTrail application in the mix for that overpass that's coming in at currently at 12 million. It's probably gonna be more than that, but we're looking at other opportunities that are sooner to get a safer crossing at Starkey Gap and 54 as well.
And still continue to pursue the overpass?
We're gonna see.
Yeah, because that's part of the coast to coast, so that's
The at-grade crossing mid-block would be part of the coast to coast too.
okay.
We're going to cross the road the safest way for everybody.
Yeah. Great.
Anything else, Sam?
No, ma'am. If anybody has any other questions, that was it for me.
This is Morgan. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Tina, what you were just referring to, where would the crossing of 54 be? Where you're referring to the trail running up along Community, Cool Springs, and so on?
Is it possible for me to share a screen and show that?
We'll see here in a second. Yeah, we're working on it. That would be perfect, Sam. Thank you.
There we go.
There it is.
You zoom out?
So this is a little east community
Sure.
drive.
So this is that phase one segment, Orange Belt Trail. I colored it orange, but it's maybe not the easiest thing to see on the map.
So in between Gun Highway and Starkey Ranch entrance.
That's correct. It's east of, this is Community Drive here. This is where that new Publix is. And this is the, with the DOT ponds along State Road 54, their little maintenance access here and the median, it all really kind of combined to be a picture perfect location for this kind of a mid-block crossing treatment. And it would be tied in with the signal there adjacent at that signalized intersection to create traffic gaps for pedestrians and cyclists to cross.
Interesting. Could you zoom out a little for a sec? So,
And we're hoping still, once we get across from 54 on that north side, is still make those connections all the way up to Starkey Ranch, that pine, I can't think of the name, just to the west there, to that main intersection. We still try to make those connections into Starkey Ranch to the west as well.
So
Because
right-
again, Lake Blanche and Starkey Ranch has tons of facilities already in it.
so right now, the proposed coast to coast takes you basically from that new Starkey Gap across 54 at Longleaf and takes you up Starkey Wilderness Trail to Starkey Park. But in this proposal, that would not be the case. It would become a different route for the coast to coast, or it just wouldn't have the overpass.
Yeah, this is not the coast to coast.
Okay.
The coast to coast is already a designated trail within the state system. It'd just be one of the major connectors, just like Pinellas has all those connectors to the coast to coast.
Be an alternate route.
Again, we're trying to get to Suncoast
Right.
a little and connect all this development
Yeah.
to the east
Yeah.
and to the south.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thought there.
I hadn't thought of that. Good job.
I've ridden that by bike, sidewalk, all of it, one way or another. And it's really cool. Bring that crossing that far to the east. There's design guidelines that has to be so far from that intersection to do this. It works out those ponds, get you away from that sidewalk and that road so people don't cheat, excuse me.
Yeah.
But it brings you away from that whole intersection so people will come down and across. So it makes it a safer crossing. You can saw we had that little bit of divided median there that gives a little bit more space there, a little bit more of a refuge, I call it. So it's a really good location for that crossing as well. Anybody else? Sam? Anybody?
Well, I have a question. I live in Land O'Lakes in the vicinity of Collier Parkway and 54. If I want to take and find a bike path or a bikeway, I have to drive all the way down into Hillsborough County to go to the Upper Tampa Bay Trail. I mean, there's nothing near us, and it seems like there's no links at all planned that link our community with anything.
So that route study that you see, the Orange Belt route study, is where we're going to be doing that. And we're going to look actually from the east to the west as well. We're going to look at those low-hanging fruit as possible. That way we might have pieces that we build that we can connect to Tower Road, Sun Lake. There's going to be some opportunities on the east side of Suncoast. That's why I want to get it to Suncoast. Then we put the pressure on for that piece on the east side of Suncoast to want to connect to that. So that's part of that thought process. And the route study is supposed to help us with those routes as well.
Joel, there is some, it's not going to help you now, but there is some of those where, they build those trails and there's gaps in between. And then maybe the alternative to Sam's tactic is there's the gaps. Now you fill in the gaps. So along 41 in Land O'Lakes, there are some asphalt trails around Wilderness Lakes, around Connerton, and they're going to widen 41 to 52, and they're going to build the trail there is the plan. But Connerton also has, for all intents and purposes, is a trail because it's that 8-foot, 10-foot wide concrete trail, which takes you to Collier Parkway through a back way. So it doesn't quite get you where you want, but
no, it doesn't. And I've gone all around the neighborhood. I've ridden all over the place. And one of the reasons that I'm on the committee is because I went to a presentation about 4 years ago, and the fellow that spoke, and I think I'm trying to remember his name now, was with Pasco County, and he was with the transportation department, and he talked about how the Wellfield area for Swift Mud would be linked into a water main line that goes all the way from the field all the way down toward 41 and across 41 towards Starkey as being a perfect path for a bikeway. I've not heard a word since then about any planning in that direction at all.
that is the Orange Belt Trail.
I know,
Okay.
but I haven't heard a word from it.
That, again, that route study that we're going to get started, that's what all those things will start to look at. And then we'll know what is needed to proceed with design and construction of those segments. So again, we have to have that route study. That's that next piece. We're picking the hanging fruit now that we got with Suncoast and Trinity Boulevard. So that's how we're going to proceed with that next piece, is try to figure out what we can do next.
Well, that is low-hanging fruit, and I would agree with you. And I'll also agree with you that the railroad, the old railroad right-of-way that runs along the north side of the well field is a perfect alignment to continue on toward 52.
Right.
And we're going to look, again, I keep saying we're going to look, but we are looking at those now with developments that's going in as well, because we have that right-of-way preservation that we talked about earlier that will include a multi-use path and a sidewalk. So all those development that are coming in, that right-of-way preservation is there for that future design build as well. So again, hopefully this route study will get started by the end of this year, and we'll start having a little bit more of an alignment. Truly, some of those are already there. We just have to have it in that study to start figuring out how to move forward. Sam, you have any other comments? Because I know you go back to where those first studies were done on that alignment.
I just have to agree with the room. There's a lot of opportunities out there. We just got to start stringing them together.
All right. Trail counters.
All right, the famous map here. So good news, yesterday, all 5 of our counters got taken up by FDOT, but a great 2 weeks. We put them down a little over 2 weeks ago, went out and checked them, went out and took data off of them halfway in between, and then we took data off of them yesterday and pulled them up. They were if you didn't see them, they were a tube counter and an infrared counter. So they worked really well, because when we downloaded the data, you could see actually the spike and that. So I'll get those numbers hopefully pretty soon. But the main purpose of this was, one is to see how these counters work, where these locations were, if they truly were a good location for long-term counters, because I've dealt with counters in the past and they can be a real pain, but these really fared well. And I'm excited about to get those numbers along with them. So hopefully we will get some long-term counters out of DOT, or we'll find funding that we can provide our own counters that we can get counts on. There is a long-term counter at Suncoast Trail, just a little bit north of 54. It's called Street Light. They're still getting that one up and going, and we'll start getting those numbers from DOT and Turnpike as well. But really it was really neat to be out and see those counters work and see, hopefully, we saw raw data. I mean, Starkey Wilderness Park, we had it like 8,000 hits when we did the mid count. So I don't know what 8,000 hits mean, because again, there's 2 tubes and people running over it several times. So there's a formula usually that goes with that.
Right.
But well, it's going to be really nice to see some real numbers for the first time.
I was near a trail counter too yesterday and I could see the marks. I had ridden over it a couple weeks ago, but I'd seen the marks yesterday where it was, you know.
They fared really well.
Good.
So
That's really good.
that's all I have. It's exciting, and hopefully we'll have a lot more information about what came from that as well. So Randy, next.
Membership.
Y'all want to move forward?
Yeah.
Now what's the dues? How much does it cost?
What is your name again?
I don't know. So Debbie's new, Anthony's new, so they're good. Brian Michaels is new. We have Dan with the sheriff's office who's not here today. He worked the funeral today for the Pinellas deputy.
Right.
So I'm actually going to start meeting with him and going to do some law enforcement guides with him and stuff. So he'll start being a regular as well. All those are new folks, but we have the old group, excuse me, I shouldn't have said, we have the existing members that their dates expired basically the end of last year.
You know, Randy, you know, I got a problem.
What?
Uh-oh.
If you know, we've been at this meeting for how long?
17 years now.
You know, we have the sheriff officer come and go. So why do we have them sit on this committee? If they're not going to show up, we need to take them off. Just simple.
I think there is. Isn't there something in there? If you don't show up for 3 meetings, you could be voted off.
Yeah.
It's been more than 3 meetings.
Well, I'm saying you would have to, for example, raise the issue, make a motion, and then we would vote on it.
I mean, my frustration, you just go ahead and take them off.
Well, you'd have to vote on it.
Well, I'll make that motion, go ahead and take them off. Go ahead and take them off the committee, so they ain't gonna show up.
Well, by voting in a new board, we're probably doing that already, right?
Well, and again, we have the new position, and they're based on districts. Everybody, you know, there's no members at large, unfortunately. They're all done by districts. And we can talk about bylaws and membership later on. It's just, I want to settle the ones that are past due, that we've been waiting to have a quorum to move forward with. And that's up to you guys. I've been part of this committee way too long too, by the way, just in a different role. But we're moving forward. I want a strategy session. We have our Tri-County BPAC meeting here in March. Good news. And again, we're kind of, landlocked by doing this hybrid virtual.
Yeah, right.
Either here, Land O'Lakes, and Dade City won't accommodate us at 5:30.
Why not?
Well, I've been, I've been told no, but we can
go back and talk.
Some of us need to talk to Commissioner Oakley.
I'll take care of that.
Okay.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense when we have a facility already and, you know.
Well, and again, that discussion was done at the end of last year. Things are slowly changing as far as COVID concerns, and that might be part of it so again, we can look into that. This room is reserved for the rest of the year. We can move forward. We can change locations, no problem. We have the dates. We can change locations. The reason why we have the Tri-County is it needs to be virtual hybrid. And again, it needed to be kind of close for Hillsborough and Pinellas. So that's why we went for that. Along those lines, we're going to do a ride on Coastal Enclave before that meeting as well. Okay, you'll be getting that information. But let's go ahead and move forward. Again, I want a strategy session, and we'll have a BPAC meeting in April. We have the Tri-County March in May. We're intended those off months to do other things. So in May, I would like to have a strategy session with the committee. It'd be a Saturday. It'd be maybe a ride or a walk before the meeting. And then we can just sit down and talk about goals and objectives. I even put on there, it was brought up at the last meeting, how do we show progress with these projects and plans that we've been doing? So I'm the new sheriff. We're gonna figure this out. Let's go ahead and move forward, and then we'll go from there.
Right.
So what do we need to do here?
So I have, of course, Mark's off because he no longer lives in Pasco County. I don't even know who Lisa Burke is. So
Lisa, which one?
So the ones that are not here or virtually, I'll reach out after this meeting. Let's just move forward with the ones that are here and kind of go from there.
Okay, and you need to know too, I did talk to Mayor Hernandez and told her that Mark moved out of the county and she needed to give us somebody, and I'll ask her again. I'll see her next week, so.
And once, Randy, we move forward, I can start pursuing, like I've been pursuing some new members as well, just like Jim. Hopefully we can get the word out. We can start getting some other members involved as well too.
What's the process here now?
In fact, he might could be her member. I mean, he lives
over there.
He lives in Santa Ana, didn't he?
As a member.
So that might work for her. Okay, and yeah, Lisa Burke, I don't know Lisa Burke.
So I have those that are here present or virtually. I have Morgan, Dr. Stovall, Tyrone, Joel's here, Gunther's here, Corey's here, and Anthony's here. Anthony's already good because he just started, and Brian. So we just have Gunther, Joel, Tyrone, Dr. Stovall as ones that are, and Morgan here that we have to decide, and if who wants to be chair.
So what you trying to say? We need to get a chairman.
So mine says expired May 2020. Is there something we need to do to reaffirm that, or you just say, hey,
Yeah, again, May 2020 was
right.
last year, so, yeah. So
Do I need to do something? Do we need to make a motion? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need a motion from somebody.
I'll make that motion.
For all the ones that were expired 2020, except for Lisa Burke and Mark Pinson. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, and that's your motion?
Correct.
all right.
All right, we need a second?
Unless there's any objection.
You still need me?
Oh, yeah?
Sir.
Yeah.
Or want me, I guess.
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir. I second that.
All right, got a second. Any other discussion? Anybody want to withdraw before we vote? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. You guys are,
What about the chairman?
well, now you got to do that, so that's next.
I nominate you.
I would like to nominate Morgan.
I would like to nominate Debbie.
Sorry.
Not even officially a member.
Morgan, are you open to that?
Morgan nominated me as chairman a few years ago, and I wasn't here to defend myself.
Morgan, we have
I'm here and I'm honored, but my scheduling difficulties might make it difficult for me to be able to make it to all the meetings. So again, I'm honored. I may not be the best choice. Having said that, I'm willing to serve if we don't have other candidates.
I make a motion that I'd like to nominate Gunther.
So we have, the first motion was Morgan. Did I have an official motion for Debbie?
Yeah.
I made the first motion.
For Joel, you made a motion for Dr. Stovall, okay. Dr. Stovall, do you accept that motion?
Yeah, that'd be fine, sure.
So Morgan's basically declined. There's the opportunity maybe being vice chair too. It's kind of not in there, but obviously if the chair can't be there, we can have a vice chair. We can have that discussion later as well.
Let me ask you this, can we withdraw our motion?
Yes, you
I
can.
withdraw that motion.
So we have Joel with Dr. Stovall. We have,
Somebody did Morgan, right?
yeah.
Gunther did for me.
Yeah, and
Gunther, did you do Morgan? Okay. So he's kind of withdrawn for that. So that kind of leaves Dr. Stovall now because Tyrone withdrew Debbie's.
And I made a motion for Gunter.
And you made a motion for Gunther.
Yeah.
Gunther, do you accept that motion?
No. There you go.
Let the record show I nominated him.
So we might go ahead and call the vote.
All right, that leaves Dr. Stovall from that.
I second.
Yeah, well.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
I will,
I'm gonna share the pain though, Dr. Stovall, okay?
Yeah.
I
I
will,
understand.
It reminds me of that scene from Animal House.
I would like to, do we have a second vice chair?
No, we don't have, I don't believe it's in our bylaws to have a
Do we need one?
chair. But we do have to, now that you did that, clean up Morgan and Dr. Stovall's expiration date, because we just did the 21. So we need to update Morgan, Gunther, and Dr. Stovall's membership and Corey's because we didn't
thought we
vote
just-
on those as well, okay?
I thought we just did that.
We did the 20s, right? We just did, am I correct? We just did the ones that were,
Oh,
Expired.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we only got them. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah. So
That's
we,
my notes.
we would like to have terms that would actually cover us now and for another 2 years, right?
I'm gonna start all these from today.
Okay.
From 2
All
years out. That's why I'm trying to go from there. So everybody will be basically, including Debbie, those guys, they will start, we'll be all on the same page.
I make a motion that we have all the terms begin today that are not, all the terms that are currently expired begin today and expire 2 years from today.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
Finally, good job, you guys.
Very good.
But we don't need a vice chair.
No, it's not in the bylaws and I have them here, but you know, we can have that discussion when we have our strategy meeting.
Okay.
The whole purpose of that is look at our bylaws, look how we want to format this meeting, and kind of go from there. All right. And like I said, me coming in new, we have the membership growing here. We really want to take advantage of this time that we have together. And I really like the hybrid because I'm a face-to-face person, so it helps me to see, especially you folks, face-to-face. But that's great. We can move forward from that. That brings us to the next kind of long PowerPoint, or excuse me, discussion. Love the Ride starts March 1st, you guys. Please look at it. Has anyone ever done anybody want Tampa challenges? Please jump on here and look at it.
Yeah, you can win prizes too.
Yeah, lots of good stuff, actually. One of the different ways to log your miles. They mainly use Strava, but, do it manually as well. Please look at it. Julie Barn does a lot. She's going to be starting to do quite a bit in Pasco. We're going to do a League of American Bicyclist Certified Instructors training here probably in the fall as well.
Great.
So please take a look at Love the Ride. I know it's a big company, but there's a lot of good stuff that's going on with this program. Pasco's never been really involved in it a whole lot. Let's change that. All right, so I'm doing it, Sam's doing it. So get involved, look at it, and kind of go from there. It's not about mega miles. It's about short trips, getting on your bike and moving, okay? It's not about 100 miles, it's about short miles, to be honest. There's a lot of different categories, so go ahead and look at it. A lot of prizes, and we'll kind of go from there as well. And I burned a lot of trees to put this in your packet. So that's,
There's also a link in the agenda you sent, so you can just click on it.
and See, we talked about the Tri-County BPAC. We finally came up with a date. Last time, it was in accordance with the meeting on a Friday at noon time. I wanted to kind of just do it in the evening so more people can attend. Again, we did it here just because it's the closest place we could do hybrid virtual to Hillsborough and Pinellas, because there's going to be all three counties that attend.
I wonder if we do it over there, if we could maybe, even though we're hosting it, I don't know if this is possible, but have us host it in Tarpon and use one of their community centers because it's so close to that.
Yeah, we're hosting it.
Okay.
So with us doing it by this hybrid virtual, it kind of limits.
It needs to be in this room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, hopefully
Yeah.
the day's coming where we can start venturing out again. I was pushing my luck with the ride in the morning, before the meeting. But I figured, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that still gives enough time to get here. But I wanted to showcase because Coastal Angeles will eventually connect to the Pinellas Trail, take advantage of getting out.
Absolutely.
And seeing that facility as well. But that's our March.
Did you ever get a hold of the gentleman in Pinellas I hooked you up with? Was there any?
That's looking good, by the
Okay.
way. I think Pinellas County, that date, I believe it's the 16th, not the 12th. So that date's wrong on your day.
It's the 13th?
16. It's a Tuesday. It's coming up. It's coming up quickly.
So it's not the 12th.
It's like 3 weeks from now.
That's a Friday. I'm not gonna do it Friday. We're doing it on the 16th.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
And again, you'll be getting that information. The agenda will go out. I'm working on the agenda with Pinellas and Hillsborough as well. I'm sure we'll have some discussion about the regional map, and that's all I'm gonna say. But that agenda will be coming out as well.
When is it, Tri-County again?
March 16th is a Tuesday. The meeting will be at 6. The ride will be at 4. Just to make sure to give us enough time to get back here in time to start the meeting on time.
I have a question.
Yes,
I wasn't here for the last meeting and I didn't notice anything in the paperwork. Was there anything that ever came about with that trail up in Hudson there? For the, by the beach, that little park?
So the Old Dixie Highway?
Yes.
We're working on the Old Dixie Highway. It's one of our TA projects. We're gonna start our list of priority projects, which is what it's on. We're working on that now. That will come to you probably April, June meeting, those list of priority projects. And that information comes with all those projects. It's one of many.
All right, so does anybody have anything else you want to share, ask about, talk about?
What, you on committee? I don't know what you're on committees, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we're on round table.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions regarding the every once in a while we discussed overlay districts, commercial overlay districts over trails. That would enable commercial venues that are trail user friendly, such as bed and breakfasts or restaurants, bike shops, to be located near a trail in support of the trail, and the trail in support of small business. And just asking for help here from the fellow committee members, how do we go about it to make a presentation to the MPO to get that done? Maybe there's something underway, and we can elaborate on that in a second, Tina. My other thing was, since trails are all about connectivity, I remember a few years ago when Jim Edwards was still an engineer with the county, we had an opportunity to comment or make improvements to the Pasco County Development Code. And with that, we made some of the suggestions were, how do we promote conditions or get conditions inserted in a county development code that forces new construction or development to link a trail and sidewalks to commercial shopping centers, for instance, and you know, something to promote safe access to commercial centers, which is sorely lacking.
Yeah.
Casey, are you still on?
Related to that is the large developments, new developments all have trails. And some of those I've ridden just because on my side of town, it's a nice place to go ride, and they link up to, I parked, in fact, at a Sam's parking lot and ride through a subdivision's trail system. But the point is, there's a lot of the connections from in those larger developments that go again to the kind of places you want. So I think people would really like that information. I think it'd be useful. And I think it'd result in better business for the small businesses if we could somehow share that.
Yeah, I think it has to be mandated by the development code because some of the answers I got by the large developers or owners of shopping centers said, well, we don't want the liability of bicycles coming into it's the typical liability excuse.
Yeah, right.
So often used also by Duke Power when it comes to utilizing their easement. But so therefore, obviously they're not too overly concerned when 500 cars enter their parking lot, concerned about liability, but for some reason they're concerned about a few bicycles.
So if we were to play that idea out, Tina, how might that go in a county government setting if we were to either encourage or prescribe that kind of thing? I know there's concurrency, which I think is when a neighborhood gets built, say on 41, they have to add per their permit to build, they actually have to add a right turn lane or a middle left, or left lane. So perhaps there's some concurrency, some avenue we could go that way, or at a minimum, maybe encourage. Would that be something the county commission would do, or would that be a planning comp plan thing? How would that work?
And it would be more of a land development code, and we're in that process. That's the whole purpose of the active transportation plan, is that plan will incorporate that information in it as far as when, and that's like the right-of-way preservation. Same thing. We want to support the right-of-way preservation for the multi-use path, for the sidewalk, but that needs to be that's the whole purpose of the plan, is it is in writing in a document that starts that process going. Land development code, long-range transportation plan, all those things. That's why that plan is there, is that wording's in there that starts that process as well.
And how do we get it in there, or at least how do we advise?
That's what we're going to do with that plan, is sit down with everyone. That's why I want to do a strategy session too, is to get those where we have time to kind of have those discussions, and with ACOM and our consultant, how do we best proceed with that, with our plan. And this is just the first plan. This is the basics of the beginning of more to come. So again, that's the whole purpose of that plan, is to start to put those concepts, those words in there. Hey, land development code, it needs to include this, and kind of go from there. It's got to be in that document.
It could be, maybe, if we're thinking about the future about that. So it's just throwing a seed out there. So we need language in the plan, the transportation long-range plan, but maybe we take those market districts that the county has made up and we subdivide those into smaller districts because they're kind of big, and maybe we can spatially divide those into other areas and recommend and advise as a committee, because that's really our only teeth we have, is to advise the MPO that maybe this is the way forward to encourage small businesses, which really helps everyone,
Well, and all these MUPEDs coming in, that's where it needs to come in too, as well. So it's not only,
like start,
yeah.
That's right.
So again, that's where that plan looks at all those opportunities and puts the language in there to hopefully get that started. And right-of-way preservation is a big one, you guys. I mean, because it wants to get nailed every time because they don't want to give it up. But,
That's right.
you know, so we don't want to give it up either because we know what's going to happen if you don't. So it's the same way with our MUPDs and also our commercial development as well. So that's what's made Pasco #1 place to live, growing county. So we want to keep moving for that. And that, again, that active transportation plan is the start of getting that wording in a document that kind of trickles down into all those other documents. You know, land development code, MPD, rezoning, all those things.
Well, then, kind of related to that, before we were working on the map that you are aware of, there was a discussion of a map to be done in conjunction with the tourism department, because there's also opportunities that they have to bring people to ride the bicycles, and then the bicycles to connect to business. It goes together with ecotourism as well.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I know there were a lot of staff changes, and so those staff changes kind of wrecked that progress we were having, but that I still think is a connection that we need to maintain, because they're looking at, you know, a whole different set of budgets and advertising opportunities, and we want to be sure they continue to think about trails as they do that.
I think the accessibility from trails to commercial shopping centers or institutions also needs to find its way well, not just for new construction, but if it finds its way in the development code, it has to find its way in the development code. So it becomes standard in the whole county. And I think maybe a topic we can ask at the Tri-County meeting is the folks from St. Pete or Pinellas County. St. Pete has pretty rigorous standards now for bicycle access as well as bicycle storage. I believe you have to provide bicycle racks in front of new buildings, and their bicycle planner has made great headway down in St. Pete. And in the case of the example here of the Suncoast, Parkway, and State Road 54 intersection, where in that shopping center on the southwest corner, the former Target has been repurposed to become Rasmussen College.
Oh, okay.
And I think I've seen there a whole bunch of bike racks, but the trail access is like an incline down, very treacherous. It has sort of been cut in by rogue cyclists, and I tried to enter it yesterday and crashed my bike because I just couldn't get over the hump because it's just so eroded. Yeah. But you know, that'd be a perfect situation to have access to a facility.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. Now, when I take it, I go against traffic on the eastbound.
Yeah.
I have to you know.
Yeah.
Or I cross at the light, which is almost as treacherous.
Yeah.
Strike that from the record.
Can we get an update on that? I think it was that coast to coast that the city of Port Richey and New Port Richey were gonna build a bridge.
River Bridge.
River. Can we get an update on that?
It's the feasibility study was completed last summer. I can get you that. And of course, right now we're just looking at funding for the design, which is not going to be just the county. It's going to have to be Port Richey and New Port Richey that has to kind of buy into the funding. The biggest problem with the underpass at Cody River is they want golf carts. Yes. So that restricts the funding that we can provide federally. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. It's just that part of the underpass can't be funded by the funds that we're talking about. They're going to have to find other funds to do that project. And that makes it really interesting to have two separate fundings for one project. There's some right-of-way issues on that west side as well. But again, that's on the priority list. That's gonna come up in the next few months.
Tina, I forgot, did you have some insights regarding my question about the overlay districts, zoning overlay districts?
No, we'll just have to look at it a little bit further, exactly what you're looking for in detail to get a little bit a better understanding of what you're talking about, wanting and where it needs to be done as well. So that was the biggest thing.
Okay, so what can I do then to promote?
We'll just get some, I'll talk to you. And again, it's just for, and because of sunshine law, it's gonna be just about information, exactly what you were talking about, overlay as in specific, detailed, what you're talking about.
Okay.
Again, this would be a good conversation for our strategy session.
You would.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion at all?
Well, just quickly on that subject, you may recall, some members may recall there was a time a few years ago when the county planning staff tried to promote I forget what it was called, had an acronym that I can't remember, but it was essentially a traditional town planning, new traditional town planning overlay district over the length of the 54 corridor in order to promote connectivity and connect commercial development with residential development behind. And by the lobbying efforts of the big building corporations, the commissioners didn't vote for it. And it's along those lines. I mean, it's not, it was a very clearly stated document by the county staff, and I'll try to come up with a copy of it and forward it to you. But a version for the bike trail would be much simpler, because bike trail doesn't need a lot of complicated stuff or support. It needs bike shops, restaurants, bed and breakfasts, and that type of stuff. Also to promote cyclotourism for folks coming from longer distances. So I'll look it up and forward it to you.
I can also look up in some Pasco County plans also and see if I can find it in the archives.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, I have a gavel.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Welcome back.
Yeah.